Wonders of Silk Road. Secret places. Only locals know about. Travel guide. The Silk Road is often described as a single route, a line on a map connecting east and west, but that idea barely captures what it truly was. In reality, the Silk Road was a living network of paths, cultures, beliefs, and hidden places that stretched across continents and centuries. Empires rose and fell along these roads, merchants carried stories as often as goods, and entire cities flourished quietly before fading back into the land. What most people learn about the Silk Road comes from textbooks or famous ruins, but locals across Central Asia, the Middle East, and beyond still know places that never made it into mainstream history. These are locations where the past feels close enough to touch, where silence carries meaning, and where time seems to move differently. This journey is not about famous stops everyone already knows. It is about the overlooked corners that kept the Silk Road alive. If you think history only lives in museums, these places are about to change that idea completely. Kashgar, Old Quarterback Lanes. Kashgar sits at one of the most important crossroads of the Silk Road, but its true soul lives beyond the main squares and restored areas. Deep inside the Old Quarter, narrow lanes twist unpredictably, revealing courtyards, workshops, and homes that still follow centuries-old rhythms. Locals move through these spaces instinctively, greeting neighbors, sharing food, and maintaining traditions without performance. The architecture feels organic, shaped by need rather than design, with clay walls and wooden doors worn smooth by time. Sounds travel softly here, footsteps, voices, distant tools at work. The past does not feel preserved, it feels continuous. Walking these back lanes feels like stepping into a story that never ended, only adapted. Samarkand Lesser, known madrasa, surrounds. Samarkand is famous for its grand monuments, but the areas surrounding its lesser-known madrasas reveal a quieter beauty. Away from the iconic squares, smaller courtyards and side streets hold details most visitors miss. Locals pass through these spaces daily, treating architectural masterpieces as part of normal life rather than attractions. Faded tiles, worn stone steps, and shadowed archways tell stories of students, scholars, and travelers who once gathered here. The atmosphere feels reflective rather than grand. Light moves slowly across walls, changing colors hour by hour. These surroundings remind you that Samarkand was not built to impress outsiders, it was built to live and learn. Bukhara Inner Mahallas. Bukhara's inner mahallas, or neighborhood quarters, hold the city's most intimate stories. Behind ancient walls, life unfolds in small courtyards filled with trees, shade, and quiet conversation. Locals maintain traditions passed down through generations, keeping the spirit of the Silk Road alive in subtle ways. Mosques, homes, and workshops exist side by side without clear boundaries. The city feels layered, not divided into old and new. Walking through these mahallas, the noise of the outside world fades quickly. You begin to notice details like carved doors, patterned brickwork, and the way light filters through narrow streets. It feels less like exploring and more like being gently allowed inside. Merv Ruins. Beyond the main complex. Merv was once one of the largest cities in the world, yet much of it now lies quietly under open sky. Beyond the main archaeological sites, vast areas of ruins stretch unnoticed, blending into the desert. Locals know these spaces as part of the land, not as attractions. The scale becomes clearer when you walk far enough to lose sight of modern structures. Broken walls, earth mounds, and faint outlines of streets hint at a city that once pulsed with life. Wind moves freely here, carrying sand and silence together. The experience feels humbling rather than dramatic. It reminds you how easily greatness can fade and how quietly history rests. Pamir. Highway, side valleys. The Pamir region is often associated with its famous highway, but the side valleys hold the deepest sense of the Silk Road spirit. Small settlements sit between towering mountains, connected by paths used for centuries. Locals here understand isolation not as loneliness, but as balance. Rivers cut through stone, fields cling to slopes, and homes feel anchored to the land. Travelers once relied on these valleys for rest, trade, and survival. The landscape feels demanding yet protective. Time slows naturally at this altitude, making every movement intentional. Being here feels like stepping into a pause between chapters of history. Yazd Desert. Neighborhoods. Yazd is known for its wind towers and desert architecture, but its older neighborhoods away from main routes reveal a softer side of survival. Narrow alleys curve to block wind and sun, creating natural shade and coolness. Locals still rely on ancient design principles that work with the desert rather than against it. Courtyards hide behind plain walls, opening into quiet green spaces. The city feels inward-looking, reflective, and deeply human. Walking these neighborhoods, you sense how trade, faith, and daily life once blended seamlessly. Yazd does not show off its ingenuity, it lives it. Khiva. Outer wall districts. Khiva's inner city is famous, but the districts beyond its walls carry the everyday continuation of Silk Road life. Here, history blends into routine rather than standing apart from it. Locals walk past ancient structures without ceremony, using spaces shaped by centuries of trade and movement. Markets feel practical rather than performative. Homes reflect generations of adaptation to climate and culture. The rhythm of life feels steady, unhurried, and grounded. The contrast between preserved monuments and lived-in surroundings adds depth to the experience. It reminds you that the Silk Road was not just about grand cities, but about ordinary lives woven through them. Dunhuang Desert Fringes. Dunhuang sits at the edge of vast desert, where travelers once made crucial decisions about their journey. Beyond the famous caves, the surrounding desert holds quiet remnants of that tension and hope. Locals understand how movement through this land required patience, timing, and trust. The landscape feels open yet demanding, with long horizons and shifting sands. Ruins and markers appear faintly, reminders of those who passed through centuries ago. The silence here feels intentional, like the land itself is listening. Standing on the desert fringe, you feel the weight of choices travelers once faced. It is history felt through space rather than text. Anatolian caravanserai remains across Anatolia. Old caravanserai stand quietly along forgotten routes. These stone structures once offered shelter, trade, and safety to travelers crossing long distances. Many now sit empty, integrated into fields or small villages. Locals know their purpose without romanticizing them. Thick walls, wide courtyards, and simple layouts speak of efficiency and endurance. Walking through these remains, you can imagine the mix of languages, goods, and stories that once filled the space. They feel grounded, practical, and deeply human. These stops were never meant to impress, only to sustain movement. The Silk Road was never just a path for goods. It was a network of lives, decisions, and shared moments spread across immense distances. These hidden places show a quieter, more personal side of that history, one shaped by daily life rather than monuments alone. They remind us that the most powerful stories often survive outside the spotlight. If any of these places stayed with you or reshaped how you imagine the Silk Road, let that curiosity keep moving. Share your thoughts in the comments, support the journey by liking the video, and subscribe to continue exploring the hidden layers of history together. Some roads never truly disappear, they simply wait to be noticed again.